What's up, y'all? Quentin and James here with Catfish Karma, and in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you might want to consider custom rod building. All right, y'all, so as I mentioned in the intro, today's video is all about custom rod building. And I've got my friend James Patterson here helping me out on this one. You know, James and I are coming at this from completely different experience levels. I just got into custom rod building, and James has been doing it since, you say, late 70s?
Yeah, late 70s. Long
time, 40-something years. So a wealth of knowledge here. A lot of you guys may know James just as a legendary cat fisherman who's done, hundreds or maybe thousands of seminars, tons of articles, all the different Bill Dance catfishing shows. This man was responsible for those fish. He's done it all in the catfishing world, but you may not know it, but he's a rod building guru. So we're going to talk about at least 5 reasons why each of us got into rod building, and some of those will be similar, some of those will be different. We haven't really compared them yet, and maybe you guys at the end of the video will be able to determine if you might want to get into custom rod building. And we're going to start this off by James is going to tell us about this rod that he's holding, a little bit about the history on it. It was built a long, long time ago. And then I'll show you the first rod that I've built. And we'll start popping off those reasons of why we got into rod building in the first place. And we're going to get on this, this Alps rod machine here, and we're going to build a rod. So let me get out of the way. James, tell us about that rod, when you built it, why you built it, and a little bit about what makes it unique.
Yeah. Well, back in the early days in, say, early 80s, we couldn't find the right rods. Just plain good fiberglass catfishing rods. I know Shakespeare made some good rods and all, but I wanted my own style. So this rod here was one of the first rods I've ever built. And you can tell, probably, this is an old guide. It's even got the shock ring around the Hardaloy insert. It is, I put a little halfway diamond wrap, and it's a Fenwick blank. It's a LB 1665. Fenwick is owned by Pure Fishing, I think, now, and I don't even know if they make this blank. But I wanted to go even a little further. I wanted to make my own reel seat. So I machined this reel seat, put a trigger on it, and everything. I've got wood inserts for the butt and all. Got good cork handles. This rod hadn't been used in probably 20 years. When I built it, I used it pretty frequently. I used it quite a bit.
When I first saw it, it looked like it was 100 years old. And then you went to the effort to really cleaned it up.
I cleaned it up.
It looks new now. But
yeah,
when I first saw it and fell in love with that particular rod, I thought, holy crap, when did he build this? Like 1890?
Right.
I mean, you did a great job.
It was dirty. It was dirty, and it was a little, I had to clean everything up. But it's held up good, considering that I fished with it for a few years.
And that's a wooden butt cap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's I believe that is walnut, I believe. I believe these inserts are walnut. And Quentin has come to me. At first, it started out, Quentin wanted me to build him a rod.
That's right.
And I said, okay, I will. And then he said, I'd like to learn how to build rods. I said, well, I can get you started. I'm not a master rod builder. Master rod builders do all this real fancy butt wraps and weaving and everything. Somebody like Doc Ski and a few of the guys that are famous.
You saying that you're not a master rod builder, I got to interject. Just because you don't do the artistic wraps that like a Doc Ski does, I mean, you can look at that rod right there. You are a master rod builder. You just might not be an artiste.
Well, that's true. I'm a little bit anal on the way things should be. I want things right. This rod, I guarantee you, the guides are spaced correctly. It shares the load all the way from the stripper guide to the tip. That is something that's very important. It's also wrapped on the spine, and you know, it's got good quality. Even though the rod is 40 plus years old, it's still got the good quality in it.
That actually, I think that's a really good segue. 40 years on this rod. He's got probably a couple hundred rods in his collection, many of which he's built, many of which are just manufactured rods. But this is the one that to me stood out. You know, he's being modest and saying he's not a master rod builder, but just because it's not a piece of art, well, it was my favorite in the collection. But now we step forward 4 decades, and we're going to let you tell a little bit about this one, and we'll probably bring mine up too and show the differences in the two, and then we'll jump on the lathe here, and we're going to start building the rod, and we're going to list those 5 reasons that we talked about that each of us have for getting into rod building.
All right. This is a Rainshadow RX7 7-foot 10-inch swim bait rod. It's been cut down some. I've got just a rubber butt cap with a hosel. I've got the carbon fiber grips.
Real carbon fiber, not imitation.
That's right.
Got the texture. It's awesome.
I've got the real carbon fiber reel seat, aluminum nuts, jam nut, Delrin washer between them. Your reel will not come loose. Carbon fiber on the foregrip, RX7 blank. The Alps guides with zirconium rings. These are stainless steel guide with zirconium rings. And this rod is, as far as I'm concerned, is with the technologies available today, this rod is as light and as sensitive as any rod you will ever put in your hand to drift and bump for catfish. This is a rod that you can build.
It'd be hard to make any money selling a rod that nice because,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not a cheap rod.
No.
I mean, you'd really have to,
No.
you'd have to put a number out there that most people would.
Yeah.
So the same blank. So this is technically the first rod that I've ever built. I've done some practicing. In fact, I even made a cardboard box hand wrapper to do a little practicing on my wraps before I got this machine here. But James and I ordered a number of Rainshadow blanks. We've got a couple more here to experiment with, to kind of do some prototyping with. But these 2 rods here are built off the exact same blank. I cut mine down a little bit more. This is a 7'2". I'm also doing the carbon fiber grip. I really like that texture, and I like how well these are going to transmit vibration. The butt cap's a little bit different. I went with an EVA. I get really bruised up in the heat of the summer when I'm using a bumping rod, because when I'm fighting a fish, I'm really pulling that butt cap into my stomach. It looks like I've been in a paintball battle. I'm so bruised up. So I thought this EVA pad would help with that. My guides are a little bit different. My reel seat is a more economical reel seat than he went with. It might not be as sensitive, but you got to keep in mind this is my first rod. I anticipated making mistakes, particularly in the guide wrapping and the finish. So I didn't go crazy with this one just yet. But similar rods built on the same blank, designed to do the same thing, and we're going to be putting out some videos putting these to work. We've already worked that one and caught a lot of fish on it. This one that just got completed. So yeah, what do you say let's both put out one of our 5 reasons that we got into custom rod building. You go first, and I'll tell you if it matches any of mine.
Availability. That was the thing. Back then, I couldn't find catfish-specific rods for bumping or anchoring, either one. Shakespeare had some good glass rods, and sure, there was rods across the board that could be used. And flipping sticks for bumping. Yeah. The earlier flipping sticks. Just fiberglass rods.
You were kind of ahead of your time, was the problem. You were doing things that the manufacturers weren't set up to produce.
That's right. And when I started fishing for trophy-sized fish, say in the early 80s, that's when I started looking for rods with more strength.
Yeah.
And we started I started fishing the Mississippi River. We used heavier sinkers.
Yeah. So your reason is availability or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof.
You had a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Okay, so I have one on my list that is kind of similar, but it's opposite end, if that makes sense. Unlimited availability of options would be my reason. It will blow your mind, guys, if you get into the custom rod building scene and what's available. Look, one catalog here. This is from one company. I mean, they have a few different brands under their name, but this is the Batson Catalog. Look at this. I believe it's 4,300 items. There's an unreal amount of options that are available now. And that to me was intriguing, because if you just go to the store and look at what's on the shelf, that can get pretty boring pretty quick. And even though there's a lot, it's still limited compared to what's available in the world of custom rod building. There's no way we could build them all. So that's a reason for me. I like all those options. So reason one would be, if we were to lump them together, availability.
Yeah.
Lack thereof 40, 50 years ago, and now it's just unreal. That's why I've been working on this for 4 or 5 months. We've been talking about this without doing a video. Is there's a lot, man, and it's overwhelming, but it's also exciting seeing all that's available. And you're right, it takes research and time and thought just to put an order together.
Right.
Well, you know what though? That's another thing cool about this catalog is they talk about the different actions. They break them down. They give you blueprints of the rods for guide spacing. They also have
that's good. The guide spacing in this they don't have it in this catalog, but you can go online.
That's right. And
you can get their guide spacing, which is really close. This rod here is wrapped slightly different, but I moved the guides until I got them right where I wanted them. But any person starting out, you can use that chart and you'll be on.
Well, and their whole catalog is available on their website. You guys don't have to order this catalog. There's a digital version of this where you can actually flip through the pages. Every single thing, all the articles, it's amazing. Their website is. I'll put the link to it on the screen. Let's get this going and let's start building. We're going to build one of these rods here, guys. We're not going to cover every little detail, but we're going to build another one of these in short today. All right, y'all, so we've got the blank trimmed down to the exact length that we want. And now we've got to make sure that we get the components exactly where we want. In particular, this reel seat or the trigger of the reel seat. That's something that's really specific to each user. I really want the butt of this rod to hit the meat of my forearm when I'm fighting a fish. You know, when that fish is really pulling that rod down, I don't want this butt cap back here on my elbow. I want it here on the meat of my forearm. So everybody's going to have a different handle length. We're building a number of these Rainshadow rods, and not all of them are going to be the same length. So he's getting all that dialed in. You see he's already got the butt cap going. And now he's determining where the reel seat's going to land. And then we're going to start reaming out the carbon fiber grip. And you know, we can't get this thing to dry in one day. So in a minute, we're going to jump over to a completely different rod and start doing some guides. Obviously, this is not a thorough how-to video. It's just a quick run through on a rod build to kind of give you guys an idea of what you're up against when you build your first rods. All right, y'all. So James has already dialed in the location of the reel seat. So the next step is to get the rear grip reamed out to the correct size. So what he's doing is he's taking a little homemade reamer that we've got there. It's just an old rod blank wrapped in sandpaper. And he's reaming out the core of that carbon fiber grip.
It's very easy to ream.
Yeah, they are easy to work with.
If you're not careful, you ream too much.
That's a forecast grip, right? Isn't that a forecast?
Yeah.
I think so. All right, James, before you get too far along there, go ahead, give me your second reason, no particular order, why you got into custom rod building.
Well, for the quality of the rod, I wanted a good quality rod, something that had as well as I can afford it.
Right.
I wanted
no compromises on.
Right. And I didn't have the internet in those days to tell me, like YouTube, you can find out. There's plenty of rod building videos on YouTube. Batson has got a video. Comes out, I think, weekly. And you can learn so much off of YouTube. It's unreal. And I had to read, and I, you know, I'm kind of slow. I'm not a real good reader.
So your reason to be you don't have to compromise on quality if you're building it yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way one of my reasons ties into that is I called it perfection is possible if you're going to build your own. You know, we might not be perfect builders. We might not do perfect work, but we've already talked about the crazy amount of options, and we can make the perfect rod for us when we don't have to compromise via a manufacturer. Like I'm holding two rods here. I won't talk brand because it's not about that, but these are bumping rods, and we're building a bumping rod, so that's the reason I picked these up. This rod right here, probably the most sensitive rod that I've ever used, but it's also a broomstick, and I hate fighting fish on this rod. I like the length of it at 7'3". I like its sensitivity, but it's a broomstick. This one right here, I really like the way it loads up. The sensitivity's okay, not near as good as this one, but I hate the length, 7'6". I really like a shorter bumping rod than that. So, you know, no matter if it's color or components or length or action, it seems like if you're not building your rod, there's always at least one compromise. But if you're building your rod, you don't have to compromise on anything, quality or build specifics. All right, don't let me slow you down. Let's get this thing built.
And you know, a lot of people don't like these insert guides. They break them. They bend the frames, the inserts pop out, what have you. You can build your rod out of stainless steel guides.
Yeah, but there's a difference in insert guides. Like these flanged ones don't pop out.
They don't pop out I mean, you can pop one out if you bend the frame bad enough.
Sure.
But if you want stainless guides, just make sure that you buy a good stainless guide with a good hard chrome, or you will eat through that cheap chrome.
Well, that ties into what we're talking about. There are insert guides that if you look at them wrong, the insert pops out.
Yeah,
and you might see that on, say, a Cat Max rod at Bass Pro.
Yeah.
But there are insert guides that are flanged or double flanged, I believe. You're not going to pop those out. So, again, if you're picking out every little facet of your rod, you don't have to compromise. But, all right, so we got our handle going, we got our reel seat going, we got our butt cap size. We're just doing dry fits on that. We're not gonna put the epoxy on it right now because we're gonna jump over to another blank that's a little farther along and do a little guide wrapping.
All right, so the next step in our process is guide spacing. You can get these guide spacings, assuming you're buying a blueprinted rod like these Rainshadow rods. You can get it on the website for the rod blank, but we can't go by that because we've cut these blanks down from their original length, which alters everything. So I had to do it the old-fashioned way. I had done an initial wrap job on all my guides based on what we thought it needed to be, and I did some testing, and then I moved those guides around and did some testing and moved those guides around and did some testing to land on what suited me to keep the line the correct and consistent distance from the blank. And now James is transferring those measurements onto this next blank, and we're going to put some guides on. Got your last one there? You got one more. All right. What do you say we give them another reason why we got into custom rod building?
Oh, man. I just wanted to add some of my techniques, little odysseys to a rod, just like I built that reel seat, you know, and I just thought it was interesting to add things that, you know, the average person doesn't have. Of course, nowadays with CNC machinery, you can do everything. But,
Sure. So you wanted to add your flair?
You know, route colors, routes, diamond routes, whatever. It's unlimited.
Sure.
What you can do. I mean, if you're artistic, you'll love this.
All right, so I got one on my list that ties into that, and I called it Creative Outlets Relieve Stress. All right? had a hard week, people in your ear, running the trap, things getting you keyed up, but you get in the shop and you're by yourself and you focus in on one thing and one thing only, and all that stuff's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good hobby. I never did really start it as a hobby. I just started as
You needed better rods.
I needed something I just couldn't find that I liked.
All right, let's get some guides on there. All right, so as you can see, Mr. Patterson is clicking right along. We've already got 3 guides on this thing, and he's working on the 2nd foot of this guide. So James, hit me up with another. I think this will be our 4th reason why you get into rod building.
I just wanted to see if I could do it. You know, it's always a challenge to do things yourself. Sure, you can go to the store and buy a rod, but I wanted to build it. And back then, I couldn't go to the store when I first started and buy what I needed. So
I can relate to that.
It is a challenge.
The challenge is enticing. I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about building truck campers when I built that one over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But buying one of those wasn't a good financial option for me, so that's what I did. I built one.
Well, you built Lucille.
That's true.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. All right, folks, so we have made it to the point of this build where it is literally time to just watch glue dry, or in this case, the finish on the guides. It's got to dry, so that's not interesting. So we're going to wrap this one up with just giving our 5th and final reasons why we got into rod building in the first place. But before I do that, you guys got to hit us in the comment section below. We want to know if you want to see more in-depth rod building videos from us. There are other channels where you could watch those. Let's see. Get Bit, he has some. The Build to Fish website has some. They're all over the place. But if you want to see them from us, you need to let us know in the comments below. But if you don't do that, we're just going to go back out fishing, and you've already seen some of that. So, James, what's your 5th and final reason?
Just the good old pride of building your own rod and using it. It fits you. It's got the components you want on it.
And nobody else has one like it.
That is true. That is true. There's not too many rods like that one.
I can't say it any better than that. Pride is a big deal. It's just something different when you build it yourself. So, yeah, I just echo your comments on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to see more content like this, let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and you might want to hit the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. See you in the next one.
Toodaloo, y'all.